Welcome back to the Taught Not Told podcast. I'm here for a very special bonus episode. I was able to be surrounded by some of the best coaches in the world here at this conference, and I pulled aside 6 humans. I got to interview, ask a few questions, and I'm so excited to share with you. So enjoy. We're out here with my good friend, Gabriel Zapata. So I actually know Gabe. He trains at the same gym as me in Southern California, but we're out here in Orlando at the same conference. So I thought it'd be a good time to pull him aside and ask him 5 awesome questions. So the first 3 questions are going to be fitness and health questions. And then I have 2 more that are more life advice wise or life kind of questions. So my first question for you, man, is what is the biggest misconception about fitness or nutrition that you'd like to debunk or that is commonly misconstrued?
Definitely the biggest misconception that I've gotten from the health industry is that you got to starve yourself to basically get a 6-pack or to be fit, to lose weight. And for the longest time since I was little, I always thought you had to go to bed hungry and just feel like crap going to bed. And that's how you'll get fit. And a lot of people around me were doing that. So it wasn't until maybe I was 21, 22 when I figured out, you actually had to just eat a little bit more, but just the right food, eat more protein, eat your vegetables, and just eat whole foods, regular food.
100%. I like that. That was a really good answer, man.
Yeah.
So my next question is what's been the biggest challenge that you've personally faced on your own health and fitness journey, and how did you overcome that?
Well, honestly, the biggest challenge that I face is being too hard on myself, which I still face to this day. I'm not going to say I overcame it completely, but I've been more content with myself, with my own fitness, such as I'd be oh man, I gained a little bit of fat over the weekend. Right now on this trip, I've gained a little bit of weight, and
you said that yesterday.
Yeah, and I brought it up to him, and I'm just getting a little into my head, too much in my head, but. Honestly, I know overall, I'm in great health. I'm in great shape. And I also tell my clients that too, because my clients are the same way. They're just all oh my gosh, I went on this trip and I gained so much weight. And I'm no, you look fantastic. Enjoy yourself. You got to enjoy life. The only problem is when you overindulge and keep doing it and just never focus on your health.
100%, man. I love that. And my last fitness and health question. What's the number one piece of advice you'd give to someone just starting their weight loss journey?
Seek help. Definitely seek professional help, like a personal trainer like Tyler and I. If you have been in a struggle for a long time and you still haven't figured it out, it's your best time to look for help. Because I said a quote in Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets. Basically, he talked about in every start of a story, any start of any big story, you're the main character. And in order for you to change your identity to be who you want to be, you have to look for a teacher, just like Yoda was to Luke Skywalker, Pumbaa and Timon was to Simba, and you know what I mean. And then they all went through that transformation, getting taught by their teachers, their coaches. So if you're struggling with weight loss and you're just starting and you want to change, seek that professional help now rather than later, because once you figure it out later on, you're going to be I wish I did this sooner.
I love that, dude. That was very well put. And I think it kind of resonates with some of the stuff we've heard over the weekend here is really to get to where you want to be, find someone that's already been there, someone that's already gone through that same experience that you're looking to achieve. Or if you find the person that already has the thing that you want and connect with them. So I love that, man. And so lastly, I have 2 more questions. These are more life related. So what's the best life advice you've ever received?
That's a really good question, because there's so many good life advices out there. But if I were to just say from the top of my head, the one that's impacted me the most, it was from last year. Eli Wild, who is Tony Robbins' right-hand man, his right-hand man salesman, best salesman, one of the best salesmen in the world. He came to this conference and coaching con last year, and he was talking about how you should align with your own moral values. And so, it doesn't, we're not talking about religious beliefs or anything like that. It's just who you are in the core. And if you pretend to be someone else, you're never going to align with your own moral values. And so you're not going to be the best version of yourself. Thus, your performance and everything in life is not going to be at its best. And so that resonated with me so much. Amazing. Because I knew there was a lot of things in me that I wasn't aligning with my own moral values.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, I've been very cognitive, or like just more self-conscious about like my own actions and how I'm living my own life. And so I'm not perfect, but because I'm more aware of that, like I make the big effort to make that constant change in pursuit of what I really believe in.
That's phenomenal, man. Thank you for sharing that. And so my last question is like, what fuels or continues to drive you forward?
There's a couple answers to this, and I'm sure I'm going to leave something out by accident, but from the top of my head, number one is God. God is number one in my life. And so that's a big driving factor. It's very important to me to have a relationship with God. And number two is my family, my parents, because they've raised me. I've been very fortunate to live with them and been very fortunate to have great parents. My mom and dad have taught me and raised me well. And I don't want to let them down, and I don't want to let myself down with all that way they've raised me to give all that giving and let it to go to waste. So I'm very grateful, and I couldn't do it without them.
You're an absolute killer, brother. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me.
Yeah, no, thank you, Tyler. No,
absolutely.
Shout out to TNT. Great personal trainer. I told Tyler yesterday that we were having a conversation, and I have great respect for him because I know he stands out in the gym, and I've told him that I have always had like a competitive, I've always been very competitive towards this guy because I knew like this guy stood out in the gym. It was cool to be very transparent with Tyler, to talk to him how I really feel about him, and I have so much respect for him. So if you're being coached by Tyler, I'd say that you're in good hands, very good hands.
Bro, that means the world to me.
Yeah.
All right, I'm out here with my friend Paula. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for asking me to.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to ask you 5 questions.
Okay.
The first 3 questions will be fitness and health related. So my question is, number 1, what is the biggest misconception about fitness or nutrition that you would like to either debunk or that you think a lot of people like do wrong when they start?
I would say that the biggest misconception among clients, people trying to lose weight, is that it takes a lot more of an extreme approach, an aggressive approach
100%.
to get incredible results. It's actually a lot easier than people realize from an execution standpoint.
Yes. Most of the time, like less is more.
Yes.
I love
absolutely. Dial back the intensity, get better recovery, get better sleep.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Great answer. So that being said, like what's been the biggest challenge that you've faced on your own health and fitness journey, and how did you overcome that?
So I would say in my pursuit of my results is your question.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge I think that I overcame was a poor relationship with food, which interestingly I didn't develop until I got into fitness when I was like 20. That was about 15 years ago. So heavy yo-yo dieter, learned all about strength training and lifting before nutrition. And I assumed that you had to eat only the healthiest foods, only the leanest foods to get results. And I developed a poor relationship. So I think the thing that changed it, truthfully, was tracking macros and focusing on calories and protein and being more relaxed in my approach to food selection. And when I realized, okay, I can get results while still eating suboptimal foods at times, completely changed my life. It like set me free.
That is amazing. I think a lot of people will benefit from that. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my last health and fitness question is, what's the number one piece of advice you give to someone just starting their weight loss journey?
Just to keep trying. Honestly, I've told so many clients this, that you're going to fail so many times. Like it's inevitable. No one who's reached an upper echelon of a high level of fitness, amazing
any
physique,
aspect of life,
has ever just turned it on and just run with it. I mean, is what I would attribute my personal success to with my fitness and my business, is just continuing to try no matter what. Just tell yourself, no matter what, if I screwed the pooch yesterday, I'm just going to try again today. Just literally
get right
try
back
again.
on.
Yeah.
I think the only way to truly fail is to give up.
For sure.
100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. Until you stop trying. So many clients will like be so down on themselves in a check-in, like, oh, I just ruined the week. And I'm like, okay, so just do better today.
Exactly.
It's a new day.
Learn from it and keep going. I love that. And so I'm going to switch over to life now, like more life related. So what's the best life advice you've ever received?
The best life advice I've ever received: don't make a long-term decision on a short-term emotion.
That is phenomenal.
Probably the best advice I've received, because I made a short-term decision, a long-term decision from a short-term emotion. This person was a mentor of mine, my boss, but it was personal advice he gave me when I was going through kind of a hard time. And he was like, just don't make a long-term decision on a short-term emotion. And I've learned that multiple times, but I think that that's helped me pump the brakes sometimes on like reacting off of an emotion instead of thinking about like, okay, what are the long-term implications of this?
I'm going to let that one sink in a little bit. That's actually amazing. Thank you for sharing. And, my last question would be like, what fuels you? Like, what drives you to continue going forward?
That's a very tough question, because I wouldn't say that there's a singular thing that fuels me to keep going forward. I guess fulfillment of purpose and trying to discover like what my purpose is, like what is God leading me to do. That's probably been my most recent pursuit, is figuring out like, okay, God keeps putting me into very similar situations, and I'm like, why am I doing that? Like, why am I back in this situation again? Why am I faced with the same type of challenge? I'm like, there must be a reason that I'm here. So I think that that's what pushes me to keep going, is like, what does God want me to do for me personally?
And
my faith.
keep going deeper and keep finding that true root reason why you're going to keep going.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time
Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for taking the time. In case you guys didn't know, this is the King of Austria. He is basically the most well-known fitness icon in Austria right now. So, my man, I have 5 questions for you. 3 of them will be fitness, nutrition related. 2 of them will be more like life related. So, let's dive into the good stuff here. So,
Of course.
number 1, what is the biggest misconception about fitness and nutrition that you'd like to debunk? Or like, what's the biggest thing people misconceive going into their journeys?
Most people think you need a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I really think you don't need a lot of time, because if you implement things into your life, it can be so easy, like rapidly easy.
Yes.
So results are coming like just flying by, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the most people are like, hey, I don't have time for these things and things like this. But it's like, if you implement it into your life and it brings you success with only like 1 to 2 hours a week, come on, man, 1 to 2 hours a week, really?
Yeah.
That's it? You don't have time for this?
I agree. That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. So my next question is, what's the biggest challenge you've personally faced on your own health and fitness journey, and how did you overcome that?
I think my biggest challenge was the fear of starting.
Oh, wow.
So basically I was the fat kid and the thin teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And basically you always have this picture in your head when you got like bullied or something in your childhood or any situation like this, right? And just like the fear to overcome it, to do like, I can be better, I can do this. It's just these little stories in our own heads which hold us back, right?
100%.
And if you get like a good coach like I did before, because I couldn't overcome it,
Yeah.
these people can help you overcome this.
Man, I can really relate to that. That's very similar to my story. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course, man.
So my last question for health and fitness would be, what is the number 1 piece of advice you'd give someone just getting started on their weight loss journey?
The number 1 piece of advice: don't try to be perfect. Yes. Never fucking, whatever you do, don't try to be perfect. The problem is, people sometimes don't start.
Yep.
So it's like if you have 2 boats and one knows you should go to the north and the other one waits for the perfect coordinates, right?
Yep.
Then one just goes to the north and it can always course correct.
Yep.
And the other one is still waiting at like the land to drive off because they don't have the perfect way. So if you don't start, you're probably way, way, way less efficient than someone who is like not knowing shit for real, but is just going and figuring it out along the way. So that's like the biggest thing I could tell someone: start, and at the best way, hey man, get a coach. So you will not find any successful type of guy without a coach. And that's what I did and what I would recommend every time again.
That is phenomenal advice, man. That is wonderful. So, kind of staying on that topic of advice, we're going to go into more life advice, that kind of realm. So, my next question is, what is the best life advice you've ever received?
That's a good fucking question, man.
Thank you.
The best life advice. The best life advice for me was, I make my own rules in my life. So most of the time, I don't know if... So I'm basically a workaholic, right?
Yes.
So if I work, I'm
Yeah.
happy, right? And the best life advice for me was, in your life, you doesn't need like work-life balance. You doesn't need like this time for that and the meditation things. It's like, do the shit that makes you happy.
Yes.
You don't need like balance, because balance is every time 50-50, right? For me, it was like, you need harmony. So if it's for you okay to work 90% of the time and get 10% off, then that's the shit you should do, right? You
Yep.
doesn't need 50-50. You need to do that things that helps you in your life. So I make my own rules, and if someone is saying like, you should do this, you should have balance, you should like take holidays, motherfucker, I don't. I do what I want. If I want to work and it makes me happy, why the fuck you want to stop me? It's my life, man.
Yes, dude. I love that. That is so true. And I think you could apply that to your fitness journey too, for people just getting started. You know?
Of course, man.
Make it look how you want. If you want to have the foods you love, include them. You know, you don't have to restrict. And so that's amazing, man. Thank you for sharing. And lastly, I love asking this question. So I want to know, like, what fuels you? What drives you to continue going forward? What drives you to continue on this journey of this thing we call life?
Dude, you have questions.
Thank you.
I love them. So for me, personally, because everyone have like his own motives, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really deep down inside me to get recognition.
Okay.
So most of the guys have like their real motives, like I want recognition, I want like a fit body to look good, to attract women or anything like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people say like, no, you shouldn't have this and you should like do it for yourself and things. And I honestly, I know I sound like an asshole right now. I disagree.
Yeah.
If it's your real motive to like get recognition of people, and it drives you, it brings you to that kind of thing, you do something for yourself and you help people, why don't take the energy? So for me, it was like, I want to be someone. I never was someone as a kid because I was fat. People bullied me. I never was someone in my life. And now, like in Austria, I mean, you guys heard me on stage. I was like one of the biggest guys here. And I got recognized. I was the man I wanted to be. And that's what makes me happy. And if someone is like, no, you should not seek recognition or anything from someone else, just only yourself, I disagree. If that makes you happy, if that drives you, and like me with my fitness coaching business, I help people with it. So if this shit is driving me and I can help people along the way, why the fuck not use the energy, right?
Mad respect, brother. You are truly living up to that dream, and you're turning those dreams into reality. And it's been amazing to see your growth. And like, I remember seeing you in the past and then just seeing you on stage, man.
Of course, man.
Phenomenal. I'm proud of you, bro. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. And our next guest is my great friend, Lydia. I actually met Lydia in 2022 at the first coaching con, and we've been pretty much friends ever since, and I've seen her at every event since. So that being said, I'm excited to dive into these questions. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions that are like fitness and health related, and 2 that are a little more life advice related. So first question is, what is the biggest misconception about fitness or nutrition that you would like to debunk?
I think this might be a little overwhelming or underwhelming, is the fact that like there's not one diet for everyone, or a diet that fits all or can fix all issues.
I agree with you. We're no, I love that. That's, and by the way, you're not the first person to say that. That is so important. Yeah, because I think everyone thinks like, oh, this is the best diet. This is the best diet. Oh, my friend did this diet, so I need to do this diet. It's like, no, like we're humans. We're all different. We're all individuals, and so what works for you is definitely not going to work for me. What works for her is not going to work for me. It's like everyone's different. So I think you need to treat your nutrition that way. So that was a beautiful answer. I love that.
Well, there's also like the food industry or like diet industry. Like there's so much, it's become like cults. Like if you're carnivore or
Yes.
vegan,
Yes.
there's like, if you're one or the other, you're
The keto cult's so aggressive.
yeah. Keto cult.
Yeah.
And also like it becomes almost like political. And I think it can be
too politicized. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time ever we've seen diets start to get politicized with like some of these documentaries going out on Netflix. Not
that
to,
are
not
very
to name
biased.
any. Yeah. Anyways, that being said, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you've had on your own fitness and or nutrition journey, and how did you overcome that?
I think definitely like they're both different. Like with fitness, I grew up very skinny. I was the little girl that I think a lot of people assumed kind of assumed that I had like an eating disorder growing up, but I was eating very lean meats. My family grew up hunting elk.
So badass.
Yeah, it was so badass. Now that I look back at it, it was amazing. But I was also just a little girl, built little, and I was always told that I couldn't lift weights or I couldn't do CrossFit. That my soccer coach, shout out, always told me that I'd get injured, that I wouldn't be able to compete in sports. And then freshman year of college, I stopped doing soccer, I stopped running, and I gained 30 pounds. And a lot of it was muscle. And that was thanks to working out, and it's changed my life. And then I also eat a lot more than I used to, because I think we always have this idea that us girls need to stay skinny. And the only way to do that is I didn't starve myself. I just didn't eat enough. And then when I got into college, I started eating more, and I had the meal plan A, shout to Colorado Mesa University. And I ate a lot. There was some freshman 15, but now I've got a roaring metabolism. I strength train, and I feel the best I've ever felt.
Absolutely. I think the muscle mommy movement is probably one of the most important things that's ever happened to this world.
It's gonna make you like healthy skinny. If that's the goal.
Yeah.
Healthy fit.
I love it. And so my last fitness nutrition related question is, what is the number one piece of advice you'd give to someone today that's just getting started on their weight loss journey?
Don't do everything at once. Don't complicate it. Start with SMART goals, something that's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So it's rather than saying, I'm going to be better this year, set SMART goals. It doesn't need to be, let's run a marathon. Let's do powerlifting competition. Like let's increase our steps. Let's focus on our protein. Let's start simple, but smart, and make it to where it's realistic. Like if you can't stay consistent with all these goals all year long or in the 1 month, then why should we expect that we're going to be able to do them realistically for the rest of our lives?
100%. And I think having or knowing someone that's been there before, or even working with a coach, I think it's really important for that R of SMART, which is that realistic side, because I feel like just the reality that people think like, oh, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. And you're like, oh, like, great.
How?
Oh, you want to do it in 30 days? Are you kidding me? You're going to die.
It's fucking dumb.
You can't do that. So absolutely. So I think realistic is a really important one. And I think having other perspectives on the realistic side of things is extremely important. So don't be afraid to ask. So
am I allowed to swear? I apologize.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Fuck yeah, you are. So going into the life advice portion of this, my next question is like, what is the most impactful or relevant piece of life advice you've ever received?
That's a really good one. I feel like something that's like always stuck with me is something that I learned from my grandfather, who's 93 and golfs 3 times a week. And
so cool.
He's insane. He's amazing. He's been a big reason for why I do everything that I do, but also something that like I heard and learned in college is your body adapts to what you do. And if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Those are kind of the 2 that I like to use.
Yeah.
My grandpa was the one that was always like, when I go to the store, I park like 3 blocks away. And so he's always walking and moving. And I think it's just something that's really underrated, and something that we all need to focus on is like, yeah, you might have been able to say that you could lift all the weight when you were in your 20s, and now you just can't do it because like, oh, it was when you were in 20s. So like yeah, you stopped doing that.
Yep.
So if you don't use it, you lose it, and your body adapts to what you do, vice versa.
93 in golfing 3 days a week. That is a prime example of you lose it, you use it or lose it. And clearly he's still going. That's freaking awesome. That's so inspiring.
He has a routine of exercises that he does every morning, and it's kept him going. My great grandma lived to be 102, riding a bike until she was 100.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a tricycle, big tricycle.
So cool,
but
though.
still,
yeah,
don't know many people that are doing that.
Okay.
And he would come hunting with my family until he was 90, up at like 12,000 feet in elevation.
That is
elk
so
hunting.
Cool. That is so cool. All right, Lydia. So my last question: what drives you, or inspires you, or continues to push you moving forward through this game we call life?
Wow. That was very inspiring. I think there's been a lot of times, like I'm sure all of you, us coaches have had these moments of being like, why do we do what we do? And I think seeing it impact so many other people, and seeing that our careers is something that's going to keep people healthier, living longer. We have, is it a third of our population is obese?
Third is overweight, and I believe more than half is obese.
No, is it a third that's obese?
No, it's half is obese, 3/4 is overweight. I believe that's true.
What if maybe it's half of us is overweight, a third is obese? Yeah.
A third, maybe it's one of those.
Because like overweight comes first, maybe, and then obese is like obese.
Yeah, I know obese is like a lower percentage, but I believe.
Really?
I mean,
okay,
yeah. Obese is because overweight is like slightly over like your normal BMI,
right?
I mean, but I also don't really buy into the whole BMI thing, because technically I'm obese, but that's just because I have an extra 20 pounds of muscle mass compared to the normal person that's a 5'6" human. So I agree with you on that, though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So exactly, if you have like example for BMI being bullshit, is if you not bullshit, but like don't trust it, or don't depend on it.
Yes.
If you have two twins that are both 6 foot, 220 pounds, but one is fat mass is much larger than the other.
Yep.
You have one that's more active, but they both weigh the same. They're both the same height. They're going to say that they're both the same BMI, but you put both of them on a treadmill. We're going to have some different results there.
100%.
One could have a lot more lean muscle mass, and then, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's fine. TED Talk.
So what keeps driving you forward?
That's a great question.
Did we get off track there? Yeah.
I think we did a little bit.
Okay.
What keeps driving me forward?
It was the inspiration of your clients.
Yes, inspiration of my clients, essentially.
Okay.
You worded it way better than I did.
It's like the impact that you have on the people in your network, your clients, the people that follow you and that are inspired by your own journey.
The amount of there's been times where I felt like giving up, or being like, I don't know why I'm doing what I do. And the texts that I have gotten from my clients, or calls, or interactions I've had with them saying that I've changed their life, is just why I keep doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
And Tyler also inspires me.
Get out of here. So thank you, Lydia. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Unfortunately, it'll probably be the last coaching con I ever see you at, because it is the last coaching con, and there is other events coming, so maybe I'll see you at the next one. But it was great to see you again, and thanks for taking the time to do this.
Thank you, Tyler.
Absolutely. So sorry for the interruption, but I also know these interviews are packed full of a ton of amazing information. So before we move forward, please take a moment to write down some of the big key takeaways you got from these first few interviews. And one thing I wanted to do is split this into 2 episodes, because I wanted you to take time to actually think about some of the things and lessons that you learned from this episode. So if you can, before you leave, make sure you are subscribed to the channel so I can bring you more amazing content like this. And stay tuned for next week, where I have 4 more amazing guests that are coming onto the podcast. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.